let me ask you a question. In the manufacturing world, in process controls and all that, does Intel play in that industry?
You mean as far as computer-aided manufacturing?
Yeah.
Sure, of course, absolutely. I mean, those are all machine-to-machine kinds of environments.
I just, I'm only asking the question because it makes so much sense that you would, and yet I never ever would have, until this minute, never thought of, well, geez, Intel's in there too. But I guess I should
think about this. You go to a slot machine in Vegas. Those slot machines aren't mechanical anymore, are they? They're all electronic. Guess what's in every one of those slot machines? A chip. It's coordinating how it wins, how it loses, when it dispenses out money. Is it a secure connection? Who's the person? It's got a camera, it's reading your face, it's giving you your biometrics to the guy up in the sky. Who are you, right? Okay, so you go into a manufacturing environment. You got robots building things. What's controlling all that? The embedded market for microprocessors is really one of the traditional markets that Intel started out on, and it's a multi-billion-dollar market today, and we're involved in all aspects of that, which is all the behind-the-scenes computing. So
Intel is basically just about everywhere. I'm just looking now as we're talking, wondering if you've got one embedded in me yet.
We are developing smart pills that you could actually swallow that would go into your body and would do medical diagnosis.
With the medical stuff, I heard about that.
So there's all kinds of work that are happening in that. And we're the largest chip manufacturer in the world.
Oh, I know that.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get back to my audience, who is the VARs for the most part, the MSPs, the people who are what traditionally we refer to as the resellers. And if I can say so, the geeks of the world who actually make the world work. As we're moving forward, so much is changing in the industry. What do you think the DNA of the typical successful reseller needs to look like?
Yeah, we just finished up a panel earlier this morning where I shared my views with the Microsoft team, the Google team, and the Cisco team to an audience of resellers that are in there. And my key points were that I felt that were necessary was, first off, most of the resellers that are there today, or here today, got into the industry with traditional IT services, traditional software advocacy, traditional break fix, reselling the computers to the small and medium business. And I think that, first off, on that part of their business, they need to get into remote IT. Many of them aren't into remote IT today. They need to partner with MSPs, get into remote IT, develop a help desk, and make sure that they're going to do that, because if they don't, there are a number of other people that will come in and start to take the value away that they were providing to their particular customer, and they might find that all of a sudden their customer now is buying from a Office Depot or a traditional just box mover rather than a value-added reseller. So that was my first point of advice to them. The second point of advice was, we're moving into a period where we were in a homogeneous environment. Everything was Microsoft. Okay? They could be a Microsoft reseller and they could get everything that they needed to solve the problems of the small and medium business. We're now moving into a heterogeneous market where there's all these new gadgets that are coming. And these new gadgets are coming on different operating systems. Android, Chrome OS, they're going to come on Migo and Linux and a variety of these things. And these end users are going to want to integrate these gadgets, tablets, smartphones, into their particular work environment. And so these resellers need to figure out, A, how are they going to provide the level of solution and choice to their resellers, because the customers want much more than just a laptop and a server. They want all these other gadgets to work and interoperate with their network. So they're going to have to pick their partners. They're going to have to probably make some investments in some software people that can actually do the integration work to make this stuff work. And I also think that they need to become more of an expert on the web and web applications and how web applications can be deployed much quicker than what they've traditionally been in the past. If you think, for example, most of these guys are used to getting that disk. I got that disk. I got Word on a disk, right? And that's kind of the traditional way of delivering software. If you look at the way all these new app stores have come on the scenes, Apple's App Store, Google's App Store, everyone's going to have an app store. These app stores are going to have vertical slants to them for specific applications. How's the reseller going to deal with that? He's got to get smart. He's got to think, how do I adapt those apps onto what device? So they've got some real challenges in front of them.
Yeah, I think they have to move from, and I'm going way back, but I think we still have to, they're still box pushers. You know, and you look at it, I mean, Intel used to have such a wonderful, unbelievable system of, you know, selling to all these box pushers back in the day when there were so many people building white boxes. That's changed, but the VAR channel really hasn't changed that mentality for the most part.
Yes and no. I think
we're moving it.
Yeah.
You think we have moved?
Well, I think if you just look at the dynamics of the market, let's look back 15 years ago. Let's look specifically here in the U.S. 15 years ago, here in the United States, the top 5 brands of PCs probably occupied 40% of the market, and 60% of the market was occupied by the resellers, the white box guys. Okay, and back in those days, they were what I would call traditional box pushers. Okay. Now what's ended up happening is the market, those top 5 brands are probably 95% of the market for business. And those people that were adding value and trying to be a box pusher have now had to become a box reseller. And to differentiate themselves versus the other guy down the street, they've been forced to add more value because we don't need just a bunch of box resellers. So they've been slowly evolving themselves to the point, but I think they need to go farther and they need to go faster.
Yeah, I agree that they moved. I never really made a differentiation between a box pusher and a box reseller.
Yeah.
But so I agree that they've made that step, and that's pretty much done deal. I mean, anybody who comes in there and asks me to help the market to the box builders, you know, I sort of look at them and go, well, there really aren't very many of them left. Like, you know, you should be able to do that without me because you can find out pretty easily who they are. But where I'm talking about more is that they're selling, when I talk about that, right now most resellers out there are not the ones who come to shows like this, because they're the ones who are trying to advance and trying to move forward, or already have it, or sharing their experiences. But the typical reseller out there on the street, in my opinion, is still
a sitting duck.
Perfect. And he is a sitting duck though, because he's wanting to sell feeds and speeds, and you know, and he walks into his customer. If you were a reseller now, you know, so we're giving you an upgrade, you're becoming a reseller instead of your job at Intel. How would you start off a conversation if you were selling to me?
Well, you know, we've learned a hard lesson, I think, here with respect to this, because in many cases, these resellers started out, as I said, being system integrators. They wanted to build their own systems, they had their own local brands, and they were doing it. And we would talk to them in a way about speeds and feeds. That's how we would talk to them.
Absolutely.
And we've learned kind of our lesson the hard way, that talking to them about speeds and feeds does not help them become a better company anymore. That we need to talk to them all about solution selling and talk to them about how to generate greater value. And it's not, although the microprocessor plays a very eminent role in the solution, it's not the front message on everything.
Well,
so we've changed a lot of the work that we do with the particular resellers and have evolved that.
Yeah, and I think if you look at going back, you had one of the greatest campaigns at the time with the whole Intel Inside thing, where you actually made people believe that Intel's chips were better than anybody else's, and if it didn't have an Intel inside, it was no good. Which, I'm not saying that that's not true, but the reality is that most of the people who were buying those chips or asking for those chips had no idea what a chip did.
Well, and you know, I don't know, there's still quite a few savvy users out there, and believe me, we do feel that Intel Inside makes a difference. We just communicate what that difference is in a much different way these days.
Absolutely.
Rather than telling you that it's 2 gigahertz with, you know, a half a mega cache. We tell you that it actually will make you more productive for your field, or more productive for your manufacturing, and show you the statistics on how that makes a difference.
And I used to tell my banker that I just bought a computer and I'm going to bring them a half a gig of cash to deposit, because, you know, to the average person, I didn't know what that meant. But, sorry.